perception come to me. Oh, now let a new perception come to me. Now let a new perception come to me. Now let a new, now let a new, now let a new perception come to me. Now let a new perception come to me. Well, thank you all so much for joining me today. I'm Willie from the Ozarks, forgiveness teacher of the world. Now let a new perception come to me. We're reading from the original edition in A Course in Miracles here on this lesson 313, the 9th of November. Now let a new perception come to me. Father, there is a vision which beholds all things as sinless, so that fear is gone, and where it was is love invited in. Well, that's the perception we want, isn't it? The vision that we want. We just value it, and that's what will come to us. Father, there is a vision which beholds all things as sinless, yourself and everyone included, not one person left outside of sinlessness. That's what the kingdom of heaven's all about. Father, there is a vision which beholds all things as sinless, so that fear is gone, and where it was is love invited in. And love will come wherever it is asked. This vision is your gift. The eyes of Christ look on a world forgiven. In His sight are all His sin. In His sight, in Christ's sight, are all its sins forgiven. For He sees no sin in anything He looks upon. Now let His true perception come to me, that I may waken from the dream of guilt and look within upon my sinlessness. Look within upon my sinlessness, which you have kept completely undefiled, upon the altar to your Holy Son, the self with which I would identify. Now let a new perception come to me. Let us today behold each other in the sight of Christ. Let us today behold each other in the sight of Christ. How beautiful we are. How holy and how loving. Brother, come and join with me today. Brother, come and join with me today. We save the world when we are joined. For in our vision it becomes as holy as the light in us. We can share our holiness. That's all we can really share in truth and reality in heaven. So come, I love that. Brothers, come and join with me today. And I should say thank you for coming and joining with me today and learning to let a new perception come to me. Now let a new perception come to me. Okay, well, let's go look at our associated reading. What is the last judgment? Christ's second coming gives the Son of God the gift to hear the voice for God proclaim that what is false, and what is true is never changed. And this the judgment is in which perception ends. At first you see a world which has accepted this as true, projected from a now corrected mind. And with this holy sight, perception gives a silent blessing and then disappears, its goal accomplished and its mission done. The final judgment on the world contains no condemnation. You know what? God has that final judgment, and you can join Him in the final judgment, and you'll know who you are. That's how we recognize who we are. That's how we wake up from the dream of sin and guilt, is by seeing this final judgment on the world that contains no condemnation. The final judgment on the world contains no condemnation, for it sees the world as totally forgiven, without sin and wholly purposeless, without a cause and now without a function in Christ's sight. It merely slips away to nothingness. There it was born, and there it ends as well. And all the figures in the dream in which the world began go with it. Bodies now are useless, and will therefore fade away, because the Son of God is limitless. You who believed that God's last judgment would condemn the world to hell along with you, accept this holy truth. God's judgment is the gift of the correction He bestowed on all your errors. freeing you from them and all effects they ever seem to have. To fear God's saving grace is but to fear complete release from suffering, return to peace, security and happiness, and union with your own identity. God's final judgment is as merciful as every step in His appointed plan to bless His Son and call Him to return to the eternal peace He shares with Him. Be not afraid of love, for it alone can heal all sorrows. For it alone can heal all sorrow, wipe away all tears, and gently waken from the dream of pain the Son whom God acknowledges as His. Be not afraid of this. Salvation asks you give it welcome, and the world awaits your glad acceptance, which will set it free. This is God's final judgment. You are still my holy Son, forever innocent, forever loving, and forever loved, as limitless as your Creator, and completely changeless and forever pure. Therefore awaken and return to me. I am your Father, and you are my Son. Now let a new perception come to me. Let us today behold each other in the sight of Christ. How beautiful we are, how beautiful we are. How holy and how loving. Brother, come and join with me today. We save the world when we are joined. For in our vision it becomes as holy as the light in us. The vision of holiness, the vision of a forgiven world. The eyes of Christ. Okay, let's go look in our manual for teachers reading, and we're ready for the next characteristic of the teachers of God. Remember the first one it's all based on is trust. And then from trust yesterday we read about honesty, tolerance, gentleness, joy, and defenselessness. Now today we're going to read generosity, patience, faithfulness, and open-mindedness. And there's a lot there, and I'd definitely encourage you to go back and read it again. And before we read it, though, let's look at what on earth is going on today. It's Carl Sagan Day. He was born on March the 11th. Is that March 11th? No. November 9th of 1934, and he died on December 20th of 96. And he was an astronomer and a science communicator, kind of like a minister for science. I love Carl Sagan's ideas, many of them. Microtia Awareness Day. Microtia is a birth situation that the outer ear develops smaller than usual. Usually just cosmetic, though. It's not anything to be too alarmed about. It's just a variation in human beings, huh? National Chaos Never Dies Day. So let's find our calm center with the changeless, since chaos never dies in this world. That's what some people say. I like to see that there's a calm center, that we can look at all appearances of chaos as simple guardians of our peace, as opportunities to be happy, something to laugh about, to have fun with. National Child Safety Council Day, and you know now NCSC is a not-for-profit organization that includes seniors, and you know I like the idea. I think it's highly funded by the government. If not, I'm not sure how it actually works, but I really support organizations that are not sponsored by the government, but they're run by the people. I think that's where we need to be heading towards. Anyway, that may be a really nice one, NCSC. I don't know much about it, actually. National Scrapple Day. Scrapple is a pork mush with cornmeal and wheat flour and sometimes buckwheat and herbs such as sage, thyme, savory, and black pepper. World Adoption Day. I guess today, here on November 9th, a lot of adoptions take place around the world. World Freedom Day. And that was the day that in 1989, today, the Berlin Wall started to come down. It was breached, and they let it come on down. It was time for it to leave. World Liability Day. And it's basically who's liable for the fallen space junk that's been launched into space. So that's an interesting legal argument. World Quality Day, the adoption of high quality standard in production. And of course, I would say on World Liability Day, whoever sets something in motion should be responsible throughout. World Quality Day, the adoption of high quality standards in production. Sounds like the opposite of planned obsolescence, which I don't think highly of. Okay, there could be times for it, but generally speaking, let's build things to last for a long time. Okay, let's see. Let's look at the seedless chi in edible landscaping. I think it's an interesting plant. I grow a lot of Osage orange on this place, and this particular, look what it says about it, the seedless chi. And we'll talk about its genus and species in just a moment. It's Cudrania trisuspidata is the genus and species of the seedless chi. Exclusively from edible landscaping, our seedless chi is a small, rounded, fall-fruiting ornamental tree. In the deep south, chi ripens in mid-July, and in Virginia, it ripens late September through October. Grafted on Osage orange to prevent suckering, these are superior trees. Bears splendid crop of lovely red fruit clusters over the entire tree. A center attention at ripening time. Fully ripe fruits are juicy, sweet, very pleasant, and fig-like in taste. Birds don't bother the fruits. Completely seedless and self-fertile. Makes great preserves. Space 14-foot circles, zone 6 through 9. And you know they're grafting it on a different genera, which I thought was interesting, but it's in the same family. The genera of Osage orange is Macellura, and the only species in the Macellura genus is Promifera, which is the Osage orange, also known as bodark or hedge apple. But the Morsiea, or Morasii, I think is how it's pronounced, it has 31 genera, one of them being Macellura and one being Cudrania. And the Cudrania is the seedless chi. The Cudrania and the species is trisuspidata. Anyway, of that Morasii, there are 37 genera and 1,100 species. And it turns out that you can actually graft a different genera, two different genuses or genera on the same, because they're the same family still. You get too far distant, they won't graft, is what I'm trying to say. I just thought that was real interesting. Okay, let's go look at our reading now. What's our time looking like? We're taking a little extra, aren't we? Let's get rolling. Generosity. The term generosity has special meaning to the teacher of God. It is not the usual meaning of the word. In fact, it is a meaning that must be learned and learned very carefully. Like all the other attributes of God's teachers, this one rests ultimately on trust. For without trust, no one can be generous in the true sense. The word generosity means giving away, in the sense of giving up. To the teacher of God, it means giving away in order to keep. This has been emphasized throughout the text and the workbooks, but it is perhaps more alien to the thinking of the world than many other ideas in our curriculum. Its greater strangeness lies merely in the obviousness of its reversal of the world's thinking. In the clearest way possible and at the simplest levels, the world means the exact opposite to the teachers of God and to the world. The teacher of God is generous out of self-interest. The teacher of God is generous out of self-interest. This does not refer, however, to the self the world speaks of, not the ego. The teacher of God does not want anything he cannot give away, because he realizes it would be valueless to him by definition. What would he want it for? He could only lose because of it. He could not gain. Therefore, he does not seek what only he could keep, because that is a guarantee of loss. He does not want to suffer. Why should he ensure himself pain? But he does want to keep for himself all things that are of God, and therefore for his Son. These are the things that belong to him. These he can give away in true generosity, protecting them forever for himself. Patience. Those who are certain of the outcome can afford to wait, and wait without anxiety. Patience is natural to the teacher of God. All he sees is certain outcome. At a time perhaps unknown to him, but not in doubt. The time will be as right as is the answer. And this is true for everything that happens now or in the future. The past as well held no mistakes. Nothing that did not serve to benefit the world as well as him to whom it seemed to happen. Perhaps it was not understood at the time. Even so, the teacher of God is willing to reconsider all past decisions if they are causing pain to anyone. Are you able to do that? Or is that your attitude? That the teacher of God is willing to reconsider all his past decisions if they are causing pain to anyone. That's where you start recognizing that you're one with your brothers and sisters. So the teacher of God is willing to reconsider all his past decisions if they are causing pain to anyone. Patience is natural to those who trust, sure of the ultimate interpretation of all things in time. No outcome already seen or yet to come can cause them fear. Paragraph 21, faithfulness. The extent of the teacher of God's faithfulness is the measure of his advancement in the curriculum. Does he still select some aspects of his life to bring to his learning while keeping others apart? If so, his advancement is limited and his trust not yet firmly established. Faithfulness is the teacher of God's trust in the world. Faithfulness is the teacher of God's trust in the Word of God to set all things right, not some, but all. Generally, his faithfulness begins by resting on just some problems, remaining carefully limited for a time. To give up all problems to one answer is to reverse the thinking of the world entirely. And that's what we want. And that alone is faithfulness. Nothing but that really deserves the name. Yet each degree, however small, is worth achieving. Readiness, as the text notes, is not mastery. 22. Truth faithfulness, however, does not deviate. Being consistent, it is wholly honest. Being unswerving, it is full of trust. Being based on fearlessness, it is gentle. Being certain, it is joyous. And being confident, it is tolerant. Defenselessness attends it naturally, and joy is its condition. Faithfulness, then, combines in itself the other attributes of God's teachers. It implies acceptance of the Word of God and his definition of his Son. It is to them that faithfulness is the truth, in the true sense, is always directed. Toward them it looks, seeking until it finds, and having found, it rests in quiet certainty on that alone to which all faithfulness is due. God is faithful. And the last characteristic of the teacher of God, open-mindedness. Paragraph 23. The centrality of open-mindedness, perhaps the last of the attributes the teacher of God acquires, is easily understood when its relation to forgiveness is recognized. Open-mindedness, the connection between open-mindedness and forgiveness, that's what forgiveness does. It's open-minded to see a better way, to see the miracle. But you have to have a clean slate to receive the miracle. So that's what forgiveness does in this world of illusions. The centrality of open-mindedness, perhaps the last of the attributes the teacher of God acquires, is easily understood when its relationship to forgiveness is recognized. Open-mindedness comes with lack of judgment. As judgment shuts the mind against God's teacher, so open-mindedness invites him to come in. As condemnation judges the Son of God as evil, So open-mindedness permits him to be judged by the voice of God on his behalf. As the projection of guilt upon him would send him to hell, so open-mindedness lets Christ's image be projected on him. Only the open-minded can be at peace, for they alone see reason for it. How do the open-minded forgive? They have let go all things that would prevent forgiveness. They have in truth abandoned the world and let it be restored to them in newness and in joy so glorious they could never have conceived of such a change. Again on those sentences. How do the open-minded forgive? They've let go all things that would prevent forgiveness. They have in truth abandoned the world and let it be restored to them in newness and in joy so glorious they could never have conceived of such a change. Nothing is now as it was formerly. Nothing but sparkles now which seemed so dull and lifeless before. And above all, are all things welcoming, for threat is gone. No clouds remain to hide the face of Christ. Now is the goal achieved. Forgiveness is the final goal of the curriculum. It paves the way for what goes far beyond all learning. The curriculum makes no effort to exceed its legitimate goal. Forgiveness is its single aim at which all learning ultimately converges. It is indeed enough. Forgiveness is its single aim at which all learning ultimately converges. It is indeed enough. And then the last little paragraph 25. You have noticed that the list of attributes of God's teachers does not include those things which are the Son of God's inheritance. Terms like love, sinlessness, perfection, knowledge, and eternal truth do not appear in this context. They would be most inappropriate here. What God has given is so far beyond our curriculum that learning but disappears in its presence. Yet while its presence is obscured, the focus properly belongs on the curriculum, the world where miracles can happen, where we can practice forgiveness, the world of perception. We want to get our perception right so it's not a distortion to reality. It is the function of God's teachers to bring true learning to the world. Properly speaking, it is unlearning that they bring. For that is true learning in the world. Properly speaking, it is unlearning that the teachers of God bring. For that is true learning in the world. It is given to the teachers of God to bring the glad tidings of complete forgiveness to the world. Blessed indeed are they, for they are the bringers of salvation. Things like that's what encourages me to call myself a forgiveness teacher. And we can use lots and lots and lots of forgiveness teachers in this world of illusions. So, welcome to learning to be a forgiveness teacher. Okay, let's go look at our lesson again. Now let a new perception come to me. And this is a statement of an open-minded man. Now let a new perception come to me. Father, there is a vision which beholds all things as sinless, so that fear is gone, and where it was is love invited in, and love will come wherever it is asked. This vision is your gift. The eyes of Christ look on a world forgiven. In His sight are all its sins forgiven, for He sees no sin in anything He looks upon. Now let His true perception come to me, that I may waken from the dream of guilt and look within upon my sinlessness, which you have kept completely undefiled upon the altar to your Holy Son, the self with which I would identify. Now let a new perception come to me. Let us today behold each other in the sight of Christ. How beautiful we are! How beautiful we are in the sight of Christ! How holy and how loving! Brother, come and join with me today. We save the world when we are joined, for in our vision it becomes as holy as the light in us. Okay, well, let's see if we can put a little tune in our mind to to take along with us throughout the day, and do the best you can at sitting silently in the quiet after you've read your lesson in the morning. Maybe the associated reading, but read your lesson, and then just go in and ask God to give you understanding, and don't necessarily try to figure everything out. Just be still and quiet and be a good student. And listen to your Holy Father, the professor of all. and then throughout the day, bring that quiet time to memory, and be sure to close at night with that quiet time. But throughout the day, every hour of the day, do the best you can to remember, now let a new perception come to me. Now let a new perception come to me. Now let a new perception, now let a new perception come to me. Now let a new perception come to me. Now let a new perception come to me. What is the last judgment? This is God's final judgment. You are still my holy son. You are still my holy son. Forever innocent, forever loving, and forever loved. Forever innocent, forever loving, and forever loved. As limitless as your Creator, and completely changeless and forever pure. Therefore awaken and return to me. I am your Father and you are my Son. When this power has once been experienced, it is impossible to trust one's own petty strength. Trust one's own petty strength again. Who would attempt to fly with the tiny wings of a sparrow, when the mighty power of an eagle has been given him? And who would place his faith in the shabby offerings of the ego, when the gifts of God are laid before him? Oh, now let a new perception come to me. Oh, now let a new perception come to me. Now let a new perception come to me. Oh, now let a new perception come to me. Oh, now let a new perception come to me. Oh, now let a new perception come to me. Now let a new perception come to us. Now let a new perception come to me.